Good afternoon, my friends. Brian here with VetteSource checking in today. Figured I was actually playing around with some stuff on our 69 Survivor car here. And what I figured I'd do today, I was kind of chasing down, doing some taillight stuff with it. So, as you can see over here, what I figured it would do is it's a great opportunity to kind of see how far down the rabbit hole you guys want to follow me here as we chase down original versus reproduction and some of the differences in how you can tell. So, in the Corvette restoration world, of course, it's an entirely different world that doesn't follow any standards of normalcy or a daily driven type of automobile existence. So that's why a lot of people get confused about older Corvettes and the valuations of some of them and what awards make them more valuable and which ones don't. And the classic car market is very similar to what you'll see in artwork or comic books or or collectible wine, guns, ammunition, all kinds of stuff, furniture even. So cars are a little bit more complex though, kind of like when you're looking at something like this, where it's originality sometimes is what counts, right? And even in restoration circles, originality is what everybody's looking for. And a lot of this restoration side, people will of course make the joke, even I've made it, hey, kids weren't as excited about my dated hose clamps, tower hose clamps on my big block Corvette as they were just the fact that it was a 427 Corvette or something cool, right? But the restoration side of this business kind of caters to or appeals to people, like me even, that I freely admit to being a highlights nerd when I was a kid, and I like the two pictures where you found the differences. So what I figured I'd do today real quick is I'm going to show you just how far things can change and how detail-oriented sometimes you can be when it comes to doing this kind of stuff. So you can see here I've got 3 tail lights out, actually 1 tail light, 2 reverse lights, and then a box here with another reverse light. Now, of course, I'm going to start out showing you this is a 68, 69 tail light assembly. This is a 1970 tail light assembly, reverse light used. This is a 1971 new old stock, meaning it was produced by General Motors, and is an original piece that was produced, service part probably produced later. This was actually an aftermarket reproduction here, made by a company called Trim Parts. It does a pretty good job. And then this here is an original 1968, 1969 backup taillight assembly that I have my friends over at Mid-America Corvettes to thank for. They actually had a couple of these sitting on the shelf that they decided to cut loose on eBay, which I'm real thankful to them for that. I got to give them a shout out because that was really cool. So today what I'm going to show you, like I said, is we're going to compare these taillights and then show you what the difference is even between some of the original stuff and the small differences that make all the difference, again, between a Superman number 1 that's valued at whatever $50,000 and a Superman number 1 that's been read thoroughly and is not worth anything. So you can see the 68-69 lamp assembly was produced in 1990. Here's an old early computer version of these parts tags here. These are kind of cool, parts plant pig tag. And of course this wasn't printed up until the actual pig ticket was created in the system. That's the way the computers worked back then. Sorry for the road noise today, guys. Everybody seems to be running around trying to get to the grocery store. So you can see this was filled on December 10th of 1990, shipment number, part number 916782, lamp assembly, and it actually had a bin location in the warehouse where this came from, and then your customer code, service parts group, and then schedule pit number. Some of those I'm not familiar with. But anyway, just kind of a cool little historical feature there on a pretty much a 30-year-old part that was produced in 1990. Now that is a 68-69 was produced in 1990. So what I'm going to do real quick is, for comparison purposes, I'm going to take all 4 of those and I'm going to pull these original taillights out of this car. And I know they're original because they've never been replaced. And this car has been lurking around here for almost a quarter of a century. So I know that nobody's ever touched them. and I know where the car was for about 14 years before I had it too. So I've actually known the locale of this car for at least since 1982, 83. So I know that these are original taillights is what I'm trying to say. So let's get these out of here real quick. Now these are pretty sturdy assemblies. I'm trying to do this one-handed and not break them, which I think I may be successful. And I'm gonna put them on my table over here so that I can compare them. Let me get that other one out real quick and I'll show you guys what we're looking at. So let's get this one out. And my hand is over there. I'll get that one there. And all right, and that one's out far enough to where I can grab it. All right, so we'll take our original taillights over here to the table. And one thing you will notice is that these screws may have started, which actually no, these are not anodized black, right? These are original machine finish. And then of course in 1971 they went to the black anodized, which is an interesting feature. So here we're looking closely at this original taillight, right? And you can see here there's no notations on this except for down here at the bottom. The guide 19 SAE standard B68, right? So these all carry the mold mark from 1968 when these were produced, right? Because the 68 and 69s are the same. Now this reproduction taillight over here for the 68 and 69s, you can see that it is essentially the same taillight. They've got a lot of things in the right spots. You've got your guide notation, if I can get it to focus in, which I probably can't. There's guide right there. There's guide right here with our original. The backing is correct. You know, everything looks very, very similar. The only difference, now I will say this, Trim Parts does a really good job of replicating these taillight assemblies as far as form and function. But the only difference is when you look at this guide SAE right here in 1968, and I come over here to this other side, see how the lettering is not only thinner, see if I can get a better view of that, probably not, like this. Not only is it thinner, but it's just a tiny bit bigger. Now I know this sounds silly, okay? But this is the difference between what makes a car a concourse level and what makes a car just a regular restoration. You see that A particularly, you can see the difference in those A's and the size of them. It's very small difference, but it's noticeable. So while they did a very good job of making sure they stayed true to the original form, there is a great difference, right? Now let's take a look at this original taillight here, right? This reverse light, I should say, okay? Same thing we've got here is this is our original. We've got our guide mark over here in the corner in the fancy script cursive, which most of you younger kids don't even know how to write cursive anymore. I'm not telling you it's your fault. It's just the way of the world. And then in here, we've actually got, oh, as I lose my screw there, I'll get that in a minute. We have, where is it? Is that backwards? There we go. We have a part number actually in here that you would not be able to see if I weren't looking for it. So I can't get it to focus in on that. In my old eyes, I know that's a 6960974, okay? Same thing down here. Our script is identical to the script on our other one, except the reverse lights actually are stamped 69 instead of 68. Now if I come over here and I look at my not reproduction, this is actually a new old stock, right, from General Motors, okay, from 1990. Now this is General Motors sourced and produced part. However, if you look here in the middle, you're going to see they've added this guide 1970, right? And then down here, it's got guide 19 RB69. This is just a result of By the 1990s, GM figured they could still keep selling parts for these Corvettes, so what they did is they released the tooling to a lot of the aftermarket suppliers, and this is what they came up with. So even though this technically is the correct part for this car, it is not a factory correct reverse light for this car. Now the other thing, the 69, the other thing you're going to notice is it does not have that part number embossed in that little tiny section between the white and the red. Now, like I said, I know you're chasing me down the rabbit hole quite a bit, but this is just some of the interesting things that people will go to, the links that we'll go to get the correct parts. Now, the other thing, I think it was this one, or was it this other one? Maybe it was this other one. Let me see here. No, it had to be that one. So, another interesting thing about this is that I may not be able to get it to show up on camera, but you can see that this 69 on the end here was stamped in after the fact, as kind of like after the mold was made. Can't really get my phone to focus on that, but take my word for it. You know, if you look at this and you know what you're looking at, you can see even though it's a GM new old stock, it's still a reproduction. So somebody other than GM made that, and then GM just sourced it from them and sold it in their own box. Now this here, let me don't get ahead of myself. So this is a used original 1970 taillight, even with the requisite cracks and things in it. But you can see here that date code of 1970, which is curious why they would have left the date code of 70 on that one. I think it just has to do more with the molds that they already had in place. And then of course you've got that there as an original with no markings down here. But then when we go to a GM new old stock unit, right, for a 1970-71, we've got no mold marks here, and on this we've got a 1971, and I'm sorry guys, there it goes, 71, see that? So in GM, now this is another new old stock part, but I'm thinking this one, I believe this one came out of an earlier batch from the 1970s. So it's just kind of an interesting thing about these Corvette details that, you know, again, you can get in the weeds and all this, or if you don't care, you just keep enjoying it, right? For guys like us that really enjoy originality, I actually will chase after these kind of things just because it makes the car look more original. But not going to get too much deeper in this today. Just wanted to bring you guys a short little fun thing about the level of detail we go to. And I'll probably, if you guys give me some positive feedback, I'll probably go into some other parts and show you guys what is involved in taking those down and the differences in reproduction versus original and NOS and later NOS. But anyway, that'll wrap it up for me today. Appreciate you hanging around to the end, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? We'll be back with some more fun stuff. Talk to you then.